What's going on, YouTube? Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope you guys are having a great weekend, doing something fun with the family or the friends or the little ones, doing something out there. Get out there and share some love today because it is a good day. I'm pretty excited to be here, I'm not going to lie. Got Oliver and Einstein hanging out in the background. Don't have the pet cam on, but there's no point in the pet cam because they never move. So in case you guys were wondering if they're real dogs, they're half real. Anyway, guys, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share these videos, tap that bell up in the right-hand corner, like these videos. Make sure you like this video as well, even if you haven't heard what we're going to talk about yet today. So, as you guys know, we get clients that come from all over the place. We get clients that come from the YouTube channel, we get clients that find us on Google, a lot of word of mouth, and we do get a lot of clients that are already in the BOP, already in the prison system. Some of them have not been sentenced yet. They're still awaiting sentencing in custody, and friends and family find our YouTube channel, they call their loved ones or email their loved ones, and then their loved ones will reach out to us. I had a very, very interesting call from this guy, and I posted his name in the video, Charles Castro Barbero. Very interesting call, which almost ended up costing me $8,000. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. However, before we get into that, I want to give everybody a little bit of time to join us. And I want to make sure everybody understands the services that we can provide. So if either it's for yourself, or you've got friends or family that maybe you're getting ready to go into prison or are sitting in custody right now, you might want to know what it is that you can possibly do to help them. The best thing I could say is to give them my information, give them my email address, give them my phone number, tell them to call or text me, and we will definitely go through what can possibly happen for them. The best time to reach out and find a prison consultant, whether it be me or several other that are out there, is prior to accepting your plea, prior to your pre-sentence report or your PSI, your pre-sentence investigation, which creates a report for the judge for sentencing. The reason why it's important to find us before you do the PSI in a lot of situations is simply because if you do not know how to go into that interview properly, if you're not prepared for what kind of questions they're going to ask you, specifically when it gets into the substance abuse arena of it, you can diminish the opportunity that may be presenting itself to you to enter into the residential drug addiction program, which you guys know can reduce your sentence anywhere from 6, 9, or 12 months, depending on the length of sentence you receive. So we can assist you in making sure that you're prepared for that interview. Also, prior to that interview, you want to make sure that you have your personal narrative, the letter that you're going to be writing from you that is going to go to the judge. You want to make sure you have your personal narrative prepared prior to going into your pre-sentence report because you want to present your personal narrative to the probation officer conducting this report. When you go in for this interview process, it's going to last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour average. The probation officer is going to ask you a million questions. He's going to be jotting down notes. And then from that point, he's going to start generating your pre-sentence report, which can take up to a couple of weeks. So the thing you need to really keep in mind here is when they're generating that report, all they have is some notes that they took. If you have a well-prepared and put-together personal narrative that is explaining and demonstrating what you've done since you've become in trouble, how you got into this situation, you're taking ownership, accountability, identifying your victims. If the personal narrative is done right and you present this to the probation officer, that is going to give him so much more ammunition to properly put together a really good pre-sentence report that possibly could get a recommendation from probation to either give you a shorter sentence below the guidelines, even in some cases probation. So I can't stress it enough, take it serious. We also want to make sure you've got your character reference letters properly prepared. These are going to be the letters that your friends and family are going to write on your behalf that are going to be sent to the judge. Your personal narrative and your character reference letters all need to ultimately be going in the same direction. Obviously, you don't want them to say the same thing word for word, but it needs to be painting the same type of a picture. The continuity really needs to be there, and we see it so often to where letters are just way off the beaten path, and they could potentially cause more harm than good. helping you get into RDAP, making sure you can possibly qualify for that time off if that's going to be a possibility for you, making sure that you're well aware of what you can be doing while you're in prison to help your odds of getting qualified for the Second Chance Act to receiving additional time off. Remember, just qualifying for the Second Chance Act does not mean that you're going to be put in for it. What you do with your day-to-day in prison has a lot to do with what's going to happen later on. So we come up with a curriculum while you're in prison with which classes you should be taking, which ones are going to benefit you the most for re-entry. Getting all this information put into a progress report that will be submitted in the form of a narrative later on, requesting the additional halfway house time to get you up to 12 months of federal halfway house. So with RDAP, good time, and halfway house, you can be looking at 2 years plus off of, well, not off of your sentence, but not spending it in prison. You know, obviously part of your sentence is the halfway house if you go there, but it's better to be there than in prison where you can eat real food, wear real clothes, go to work, go home on the weekend, and potentially qualify for home confinement as well. So didn't want to get too far off the beaten path there, but that's just some of the things that you can focus on when you're deciding on where you want to land with a prison consultant. You need to know the right questions, you need to know what to ask them, and most importantly, you need to know what services you are getting for your money. You need to know what the outcome potentially might be. Now that there's more prison consultants out there releasing information, you should have a better possibility of navigating to what it is that's going to cater to your needs. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into what this video is really all about today, because I was almost scammed for $8,000, and I cannot believe how this took place. Holly, how are you doing? Let's see, we've got Holly talking to us in here. Scammers to the left and scammers to the right. Absolutely, Holly. You do good work. Make that great work. You're bringing up valid questions and things to think about before hiring a consultant. Well, thank you very much for that, Holly. Holly is a possible future prison consultant for you ladies out there and men. But a lot of women might feel better with a woman, so there you go. Keep an eye on Holly Colm, up and coming. She's like a star on the rise. Christina Smith, how are you? Robert, thanks for joining us. I don't know how we got that one thumbs down so fast, Robert, but you know what? We're gonna survive it. So okay, so here's what happened. So what's today? Today is Saturday. So on Tuesday of last week, I get a phone call from this guy. He's at here. We're gonna talk a little bit about this guy. And look, guys, do me a favor. This is 100% legit. Okay, I'm not making this up. I'm not stretching the truth at all. So if you feel the urge, feel free to write this guy and let him know what a piece of shit he is for what he tried to do. I'm going to post his information on here for you guys. So here's Charles. So you're not going to see my face for a little bit, so you're just going to have to listen to what's going on. And here is Charles's. So as you can see, he's at San Diego MMC. So he hasn't been sentenced yet. He doesn't get sentenced until January. So he's at a holdover right now, awaiting sentencing in California. Here's his address. That's the address. All you need is his name, his register number, and the address. That's where you want to mail any letters to this jerk-off. And you don't need to put your return address on there if you don't want to get, mail back from him, or you don't want to release your address. But I'm all for it. Let this guy have it. I'm the first one to tell you guys that everybody deserves a second chance. Really good people make bad decisions every day. And we're gonna shrink this a little bit so you can see me too, because I feel weird talking to you guys and you can't see me. So let's shrink it down just a little bit. Let me know if you need me to man, shrink it down too much, you won't be able to see it. Alright, we'll just leave it the way it was. And then alright. So anyway, here's his address. This is Charles Castro Barbero. So I received a call last Tuesday. From Charles in prison. First, I get a Core Links request to add an inmate. I got 3 inmate requests back to back, all from the same place. So I figured, okay, somebody got my information somehow. So Charles calls me up and he's like, hey, I was given your information by one of the other inmates in here whose mother had watched your videos. And we heard that you might be able to help us with possible designation, possibly qualifying for the residential drug addiction program, basically going over the different services that I offer. And I'm like, absolutely. So what can I possibly do for you, Charles? Charles goes through the whole spiel. He's getting sentenced in January. He wants to try to qualify for RDAP, and he's just really kind of terrified. I asked him, well, what are you in there for right now? He's in there for bank fraud and some wire fraud. So I was like, okay, well, here's what we can do. Went through the whole spiel, explained all the benefits and all the services, said put me in contact with some of your family. I'll make sure we get with them and get personal narratives and character reference letters. So he's like, okay. He's like, how much is it going to be? I was like, well, it's $1,500, $1,495. He goes, great. I also have 2 other guys in here that really need your service. They're going to give you a call when I hang up with you. I'm like, okay, awesome. Hang up with him. I get one call from one guy, go through the whole thing. He loves it, really needs it. Getting sentenced. He's also getting sentenced in January. Then another guy, he's getting sentenced actually this Monday. So it's really close for him to get sentenced. So explain everything. Everybody needs the services. So then Charles calls me back. And he's like, hey, these are really good guys. I'm going to go ahead and pay for them. I'm going to take care of them and give you my information for $4,500. I was like, okay, a little weird. Doesn't always happen. It's very rare to get other inmates while they're in prison to pay for other people that they don't really know. I can understand if they were like friends all in the same conspiracy, but these guys were completely separate of each other. They met in prison and became like cellies. So I'm just like, okay, it could happen. It's a possibility, right? Can't judge too much. So he says to me, do you do anything if I send you extra money? Can you charge me a fee and then distribute funds every month onto my commissary, because I don't really have anybody on the outside that I can trust? And I said, well, that's not typically a service that we offer. And I'll tell you what, if you're using me for your prison consulting, I'm not going to charge you for that. But if you want us to hold on money for you and deposit it at your request, I have no problem with that. So he's like, great, I'm going to give you $8,000. $4,500 of it is going to be for the service, and then $3,500 will be for commissary. I was like, okay. So he gives me a credit card, and I should have had the email popped up in here. He goes, I just have to call my banker and let my banker know to authorize the amount. I'm like, great. So he emails me his credit card number. He emails me an authorization code. And he says, when you run this credit card, you need to call your merchant and do an offline voice authorization. And here's the authorization code from my banker to release the funds. It's been approved for $8,000. I've never heard of that before. It's not something that I was really aware could or couldn't do. So I figured, you know what? Let me call my merchant account, my merchant account is Intuit through QuickBooks. So I called Intuit, told them I have a voice authorization. Here's the authorization code. They're like, okay, here's what you do. They brought me online, tried to process the card, declined. Tried it a couple different ways, kept declining. So I figured, okay, maybe he didn't get the approval, or there's just not enough money on the card. Who knows? So I send him an email back. He calls me up and goes, what do you mean it wouldn't go through? I was like, it declined. I said, I did what you said and it declined. I don't know what else to tell you, but if you want, I can reach out to these other guys to see if they still want to try to hire me on their own. He goes, no, I have a bank account. I can give you the information for that. So he gives me the check information for a First Citizens Bank. So I'm processing the check, put it into the system, comes back approved. Now, for those of you that may have your own business or you don't have your own business, when you process a check through an ACH or an electronic transfer of funds, when you process a check, a lot of the times it will come, like if I wrote you a check and handed it to you, if you're in good standing with your bank, you'll go deposit that check. Likely your bank will release, if not all of the funds, most of the funds immediately. And then it could take 7 to 10 days for my bank to clear that. So if the money was not in my account and I wrote you a check, your bank may release it to you. Later on, when they find out the money wasn't there, they pull it back. So if you spent any of that money, it's going to come back out of your account. So now you could possibly go negative. So this money cleared into my account, and then he immediately said, did the check clear? I said, looks like it cleared. He goes, great, can you put money on my books? I said, well, I got to give it the 7 to 10 day turnaround time to make sure the funds clear my account. They've temporarily put them in, but if the check's no good, I'm kind of beaten. And he goes, oh, no, the check's good. Don't worry about it. I got a little suspicious of that. So I called First Citizens Bank. Now, banks are not supposed to give you any personal information. So it was 50-50 whether or not this bank was going to help me out or not. I told him the situation, told him my concern that possibly this guy was was trying to defraud me, because he is in prison for bank fraud right now. And even before all of this, while I was on the phone with this guy, I said to him, this isn't some kind of crazy scam, is it? He goes, man, I'm in prison. They're recording these phone calls. They're recording the emails. You think I'm crazy? I was like, okay, I'm just making sure. So sure enough, the bank says, look, I can't give you any information on this account, but I can tell you that the account is not in that guy's name. That's all we can tell you. So I said, huh, that's really interesting. So I started Googling this guy's name. That's exactly what this fucking guy's in prison for doing exactly what he just did to me. So now I'm upset. I'm like, man, this guy almost got me. And so I'm putting 2 to 2 together. I'm like, all right, so he's paying for these other 2 guys. Clearly, he's not doing this out of the kindness of his heart, because he's scamming me. What kind of scam is he running on these other 2 guys? So I started thinking about common scams that I used to see in prison. And a lot of the typical scams were, hey, let me borrow some commissary. Let me get some commissary from you, and I'll pay you back because I've got this large sum of money coming into me. Well, sure enough, that's what he was doing. It was either that or all 3 of them were in on it together, which didn't sound too likely to me. So I went on pacer.gov, where it's a website you can go to look up federal cases. It's a membership you can sign up for, and it's what a lot of prison consultants use to check in and see what's going on with their clients, see if there's any paperwork filed, any upcoming court dates. And it also gives you the defense attorney's information, and it gives you the U.S. attorney's information, who's prosecuting and trying the case. So I got the U.S. attorney's email and phone number, called him up, got him on the phone, started explaining to him who Charles was. He right away remembers the name, and I started telling him. He goes, whoa, 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 I know exactly where this is going. He goes, he's been doing this to attorneys for the last couple of months while he was in prison. He calls attorneys, he gets them to run these forced transactions through the credit card terminal where the funds look like they hit the attorney's account. The attorney then takes a portion of those funds, puts it on Charles's books for commissary. Then when the credit card issuing finds out about it, they charge it back. So if he gave $5,000 to the attorney and the attorney gave Charles $2,500, the credit card processing company is coming back and taking the entire $5,000 back. So now the attorney is technically out $2,500. So the U.S. attorney went on to tell me that Charles has been doing this. And I'm like, this is like additional bank fraud and wire fraud while he's in prison, continuing to do the same exact thing. He goes, yeah, it's probably not going to play out too well in sentencing for him, which is in January. So I sent this very detailed, and now if you don't know how Core Links works or True Links, let's say somebody's emailing you on a regular basis. If somebody deletes you, if they remove you from the Core Link system, you no longer have access to the emails that they sent you. So prior to me letting Charles know that I was onto his little scam, large fucking scam actually, I went and took screenshots of all of the email correspondence back and forth and put it into a file, and I called it Charles the Con. So I have a folder on my computer called Charles the Con, and it's got all these emails in there back and forth from me and him. So, and not to mention all the calls are recorded as well. So the prison can still pull up the emails, but Charles, I was afraid he was going to delete it once he knew what was up, so I wouldn't have any evidence. So I made screenshots of all of this, and I copied the screenshots, sent them all to the U.S. attorney, and the U.S. attorney is just blown away by this guy's blatant disrespect, and obvious is not trying to make any type of attempt to atone for what he's in prison for. He's also gone to prison for the same exact thing for 24 months back in 2002. So now this is just leading up. So he's still on the email. So I asked the U.S. attorney, how come you guys haven't stopped him from making phone calls? Like, well, we can't stop him from using the phone. I said, bullshit. I was in federal prison, and when somebody does anything they're not supposed to do when they get in trouble, one of the first things they do is they take away your phone privileges, they can take away your commissary, and they can take away your visitation. The only means of communication they'll leave you with is snail mail, where you have to buy stamps. So he's like, oh, I didn't really. So it seems like the U.S. attorney wasn't really aware of that, or he's not too concerned with that part of it. He's more concerned with drilling this guy to the wall for his crimes and making him pay for it, because this is somebody that is not sorry. This is the type of person that deserves more than what they're looking at, because they are going to continue to destroy people's lives and cause chaos for people. It's agreed people deserve a second chance, but this guy's already had a second chance, third chance, and this is just who he is. So today, I was able to get a hold of the prison over at San Diego MMC, and I spoke to an investigator. I explained to the investigator what had happened, forwarded him the email that I sent the U.S. attorney, and he sent it back to me saying this investigation is going to take place ASAP. So now, as you know, this pretty much brings you up to speed. The other two clients, or the other two people that he was trying to screw over, I've been in communication with them. One of them actually hired me as their consultant, and the other one I haven't heard back from yet. But I'm in correspondence with the parents of the client that I have, and the mother just texted me a few minutes ago, because I sent her a link to this video. She just texted me a few minutes ago and said, "I won't be able to watch, but my husband will. Thank you. By the way, the client, her son, called her and said Charles was sent to the SHU today." So that investigation has already put Charles in the SHU. I can guarantee you they're going to take away his phone privileges, his email privileges. They're only going to leave him to snail mail. So this is going to shut down this asshole's ability to continue to run scams, at least temporary. Now, I am not done with this guy. I'm going to write a letter to the U.S. attorney to use for sentencing to really detail the outline of this guy's deviant ways. I'm also going to follow this guy on the BOP, because right now he's at MCC San Diego. Once he gets sentenced, he will be transferred to a designated prison. I'm going to follow him to that prison. I'm going to contact that prison and make them well aware that this is the type of scam that this guy does. And I'm going to harass this guy. I'm going to harass this guy his entire prison sentence. I sent him a very detailed email once I had everything I needed from him, letting him know that I knew exactly what he did. I told him that I was on the phone with the U.S. attorney, and I just leveled it out. I told him, you're like a cockroach. You run around, you hide in shadows, and you're taking advantage of people. The whole prison knows, because the other two guys are in there. They've let everybody know. So this guy has really boxed himself into a corner without too many friends. So I'm telling you guys, and the moral of this story is, when you go to prison, if you're struggling and you're hard up for money and you're waiting for something to happen, or you're desperate and you need somebody to help you, you're looking for some kind of relief meaning like time off of your sentence, be careful of the snakes out there, guys, because a lot of inmates will come up to you and have this great game, just like Charles did. Charles didn't start off with, can you put money on my account? Started off with wanting to hire me. I mean, I spent 2 hours, probably collective time, on the phone with this asshole, just almost to get burned for $1,000. So there are con men in prison that are just going to keep cycling through this revolving door. Be very careful who you trust in prison. You're going to get to know certain people, and you're going to know who you can and can't trust. But initially, what it is these guys needed help. These guys needed consulting. Charles was baiting them in with getting commissary from them, making them think he's this big shot with money that was going to pay for them for helping him out until his money clears. These people exist everywhere, but in prison, sometimes you're most vulnerable, and there's a good and a bad to being vulnerable. The good part of being vulnerable is you're open to suggestion. You're open to take good advice, but you need to be able to determine good advice versus bad advice, and you need to be able to do your own homework. Don't just believe what somebody's telling you. Don't just believe what I'm telling you. If I tell you how the Second Chance Act works, don't just believe me how it works. Do your own homework. So that was my interesting, crazy story that I can't believe this guy was doing from inside prison. It's like, there's no way for you to hide from that. You can't change your identity. Your real name is on everything. All calls are recorded. All emails are subject for monitoring. Even if you delete the account, it's still there. So now they have all of this stuff, and I hope to God this guy catches a new charge. Because I will, if I was told, will you come out here and testify? Yes, I'll be on a plane tomorrow to California just to stare that guy in the face and let him know that he picked the wrong prison consultant to try to cross. So prison consultants, beware. Beware of the name Charles Castro Barbero. He goes by Charlie. He might even go by Charlie Castro. Who knows? He's probably got aliases. I looked up any aliases, didn't find any for him. Hey, El Gordo, how are you, my man? Thank you. Dave, you got to go through this again. We missed it. You're going to have to watch the video again, Dave. That's why these videos are recorded. Because there's a lot to go over. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that to you guys today, because I know a lot of you, you know, you got a lot of concerns about going to prison, and this is one of the concerns, is watch out for the con men in prison, because con men, I mean, they have a very good game. And the easiest person to con, the easiest person to sell something to is another con man or another salesman, because they're so used to doing it that when they hear something sound just as good as them, they forget that it's probably complete bullshit, and they buy it just like somebody else buys it from them. So birds of a feather flock together. Do your homework. Don't trust anybody until you get to know them. And then even then, be careful what you share. No kidding, huh, Holly? Let's see. Oh, Andrea Hill Polling. Hi, welcome. You look like a new name. Let's see. This is pretty effed up that he did that. I'm from, After Prison Show and channel. I really liked you in general. Nice guy when he was on the channel live a while back. It was very interesting. Thank you, Andrea. Very cool to have you here. Welcome. My channel is a little bit different than Joe's channel. The common grounds is prison, but the concept is a little bit different. Joe's got more of the entertainment side, which is hilarious, and I love watching it. Mine's more about the helping people get prepared and what they can do to get their mind right, get their situation right, help them prepare with letters, help them reduce possible sentences, doing motions after the fact to maybe get judge recommendations for different types of issues, whether it be Second Chance Act. So there's all kinds of different things that we try to do here at Federal Prison Time with RDAP Dan. And because of all of you, you guys had made it an amazing journey so far. Oliver and Einstein, really appreciate it. And if you don't know who Oliver and Einstein is, it's the two bags of fur that I have sitting behind me in the chair. Who likes biscuits? Who likes biscuits? Biscuit. No movement. They just went outside and they just ate. So now they're going to hibernate the day away. So what do you guys got going on this weekend? Anything good? Guys going anywhere? Going to do anything fun? Anybody got any sentencing coming up next week? Remember, if you're looking to get help with designation and you want to know the best possible prison you can go to, we have a calculator that can help you with that. If you're a client of ours, just text me and it's free. If you're not a client of ours and you want to get access to this calculator to help you with designation, help you with the likelihood of getting into a specific prison, this calculator will spit out a lot of stats that you're not able to get anywhere else right now. And if you're not a client, it is $79.95 for the calculator, and it will give you a lot of really useful information on top of some consulting if you need it. So clients, if you're a client and you know your sentencing date or you've already been sentenced and you would like to find out what prison you likely could be going to, let me know. We can help you out. RDAP Dan. It's pretty chilly today. Christina Smith next Monday is coming up pretty fast. Are you getting sentenced on Monday, Christina? Well, I'm glad my videos help keep you sane. That's what they're intended for. You know, we should call this like the... Nah, never mind. It's crazy. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate that. It's really, really nice. It's really nice to hear when people come from this channel from other places and they appreciate what we're trying to do, even if you're not going to federal prison. It's an interesting topic because we all have this thought of prison as we grow up, as prison is really set for bad people. Murderers, rapists, things like that, killers. And what we come to find out later on in life, especially for those of us that have gone through it, is really good people make mistakes sometimes and end up in a situation where they're going to end up going to federal prison. Now, some people are not really good people, like this cockroach, Charles Castro Barbero. Man, I hope this video goes viral. Just other victims. If you've been a victim of Charles, please reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with all of the people that you need to contact. If you guys would like to email Charles, or not email, if you would like to mail Charles a letter letting him know that he was blasted all over YouTube just to make whatever possible good he has in his day, take it away from him to remind him of all the people that he's continuing to scam, here is how you reach Charles. So that's him, Charles Castro Barbero. That's his register number. That's the address where to send it. The prison is MCC San Diego. You can look him up on the BOP's website. So take a screenshot, get out your phone, take a shot of it. I'll give you about another 10 seconds. And then if you were a victim of Charles and you would like to come forward, if Charles has reached out to you and tried to take advantage of you, you can also contact the U.S. attorney who is in charge of prosecuting Charles. And I'll give you that information. We're just gonna change the address here. So let's take away this and let's go ahead and U.S. attorney. There you go. So there is the U.S. attorney that is prosecuting Charles Castro Barbero. All you need to do is send an email. You got his email right there on the bottom of that little gray box. Andrew. Here, let me blow this up so you can see it. So that is the U.S. attorney that is prosecuting this scumbag. He was blown away. It's like this helped. Usually we're not in a position where we want to see people get more time. We see them doing the right thing. We see them actually being sorry for what they did. We want to see them get less time. But in a situation like this is one of the first situations that I've come across personally where I want to see this guy really do some time to think about what he's going to do when he gets released, because if he doesn't change his ways, he's just going to continue to hurt people. So there you go. There's some good information for you. One more time. Oop. And there's Charles' mailing address again. Send this guy a letter. Let him know, hey, we saw you on RDAP Dan's YouTube channel, and it really sounds like you're a true piece of shit. Just want to let you know the world knows. You're not hidden anymore, Charles. All right. That was fun. That was fun. So he's in the shoe right now. He's already having a really bad day. Like, maybe wait a week and email him. He's having a really bad day right now. He's sitting in the shoe. He just got yanked out of his comfy little cell with his Swiss rolls that he got from stolen money. I mean, who does that? Out of all the people I met in prison, people were running game and running little cons and scams, but usually it was like guys were telling women, oh, I love you, send me money. They were just manipulating women. But this guy, he went above and beyond manipulation. He used manipulation to get you hooked. Then he used stolen credit cards and stolen bank accounts to give him money through a federal government email and phone system. Truly, there is no remorse. There is no being sorry. This guy is just more concerned about getting Swiss cakes than he is getting time off of a sentence. So he's going to pay the price for this one. And you're going to be updated weekly as to what goes on with this Kookameyer. Yep, plea out, and now I'm getting sentenced before everyone who was indicted. Sucks. So you're getting sentenced on Monday, Christina? Really sorry to hear that, but at least now you'll know. The healing can start, the journey can start. You know what you're looking at, and then with some hard work and a little bit of luck between RDAP, Good Time, Halfway House, or it goes the other way around, right? Good Time, RDAP, Halfway House. You might be able to slice into how much time you're actually looking at. Some other things that I want to talk about for a second. So I've got another client who's currently in prison. And I talk to his wife quite often, and it's just been a real so this guy has clearly gotten himself into some trouble while he's in prison. And when I say trouble, we're talking possible drugs and things like that, because he's got his wife, and look, this is just as much as his wife's fault, and I told her this, for enabling him and allowing him to manipulate you, but she's been sending him about $1,500 a month to his commissary. Now, you can only spend $300 and change. So he's got her putting money on his books. He's got her putting money on other people's books. Just so you know, it is illegal to put money on somebody else's books when your loved one is in prison for them to share commissary of any kind. He can get in trouble, or she can get in trouble for that while they're in prison. So Charles, this client, we think that maybe he has turned to some drugs, because he also asked her to send in Suboxone strips, which that was her limit. She's like, no way. But the things that this woman has done to be able to send him $1,500 a month, she doesn't have that kind of money. She's got children. She went and sold all of her furniture in order to be able to give him the money that he's asking for. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you allowing this to happen? He just got entered into RDAP, like literally a couple days ago. So I don't know how this is going to play out for him in RDAP. If he's using drugs or involved in buying and selling drugs or in with the wrong crowd, RDAP is not really going to benefit him, because he's probably going to get caught doing something stupid, get removed from the program, being taken away from his family even longer. So she pretty much cut him off as far as telling him, and not cutting him off, but I'm not going to send you what you're asking for. I'm going to send you a couple $100s a month, what we can afford to stop taking out of our kids' mouths. So I had to have a long talk with her, and the reality is you're not helping the situation. You're making it worse, and you're taking away from your children. It's like you're allowing yourself to indirectly be a bad parent by making these types of choices. So she clearly, at least said she understands what I was explaining to her. And when she sent him the email, he responded back, and she showed me a screenshot of the email. Don't take the kids to come see me anymore. I'm just going to sit in here and do my time. Don't worry about me. It's like now he's getting selfish, and the kids want to go see him. So it's not about you not being able to deal, not being able to see the kids. When you're in prison and you're like, I don't want my kids to see me like this. If your kids want to come see you, suck it up and let your kids come see you, because you put yourself in that situation. Don't make your children suffer because you can't handle the emotional stress that it's going to put on you watching your family walk out. These are the choices that we made that put us in this situation. So let yourself feel what that feels like. Let yourself feel what it feels like to have your children sitting on your lap, and then all of a sudden time's up and you got to watch them walk out of the prison, and you got to go back to a cell or to a dorm or to a cube or whatever it is. That is part of the process of where you're at. This is part of identifying who your victims are. When you say, I don't want my family to see me like this, no. What you're saying is you don't want to deal with your family seeing you like this. You don't want them to see you like this. It's about you again. You're making yourself the victim again. Stop being the victim. Identify the real issue here. A camp or a low setting is not dangerous for family. Don't use that as an excuse. I don't want them coming to a prison. A camp or a low, they're not even going to know they're out of prison when they're coming to see you. Small children are just going to think it's some kind of a campground or a base. There's not cops and guns everywhere. There's a couple COs that are barely even looking like COs. Let your family come see you. If you don't, you're not using this process to better your situation. You're still manipulating, and you're still making it all about you. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit, because it's really frustrating to listen to when she told me the story about what her husband's been doing while she's in prison. And it's heartbreaking and it's sad. She shouldn't have to be going through that, but she shouldn't allow herself to go through that. So if you're a prison wife or a prison girlfriend or a prison husband, and you're on the outside and your loved one's on the inside, and they're manipulating you and you're sending more money than you can afford, hey man, don't be surprised when they get out and they take advantage of you and leave you, or you break up and shit goes south. Don't be surprised when it happens, because you are creating an environment that can't be sustained. You think they're going to come home and everything's going to change. If they're not changing and fixing themselves in prison, they're sure as hell not going to do it when they get back out in the free world, where it's way easier to do the wrong thing. Hate when I put in the wrong password. So, Christina, are you offering to come on for the women's segment for next Wednesday? I would gladly, being you're getting ready to get sentenced, you're getting sentenced. I would gladly have you come on. It would be a great interview for you to explain what it was like for you just to go through this, being it's so fresh in your mind. Absolutely, if that's something you want to do, or am I jumping to conclusions? And you've been waiting 5 years. That's a long time. Very, very long time. Sorry you've been going through it for so long. And this is the worst. This is the worst time about it. Before you get sentenced and through pretrial and the dark cloud looming over your head, it's definitely by far the worst part about getting ready to go to federal prison. And don't forget, guys, we have the sponsorship program where we've got inmates that are in prison that need things. We got cold weather getting ready to attack everywhere, and it already started. They need some warm clothes. They need commissary items and some hygiene products. We try to do something for somebody. We try to do a little something for everybody every month. So if you want to help out, tap on this link that I just sent you, It goes to our support page, and you can definitely, as little or as much as you want, a couple dollars, a couple $1,000,000, whatever's in your loose change bucket. And that's what we do. A lot of you guys, when you do sign up to become clients, a lot of you donate at that time as well, and you pay a little extra to put towards other people. Tamara, you did that. I don't know if Tamara's in here right now, but John Goff, what's up, my man? John Goff is one of our clients, one of our ex-clients. What's going on, John? Nice to see you, my man. But yeah, Mike Winters, he's another really good client. He's constantly, and these guys, these aren't rich people. These are people that see the benefit and see what it's like for somebody to struggle inside a prison and are trying to give a little bit back. So that's how we're able to do that, through support from you guys and support from other sponsors. So I really do appreciate it. Tamara, there she is. Tamara, hi Dan, tweeted your info today on female firefighter. On a female firefighter. I'm going to have to go look at the tweet at Twitter. Got to go look at my Twit account. All right, Christina, it's a date. You and I, Wednesday, ladies' night. So I'll get with you over the weekend, Monday or Tuesday, and really all you need, just so you know, what you need on your end is a webcam and Skype. So if you don't have that, just download Skype. If you don't have a webcam, you can go to Walmart and buy one for like 25 or 30 bucks. You can just use some lights, try to light yourself up. The better the scenery, the better the video, the better people are going to pay attention to the content. And yeah, we can go from there. It should be, and you know what, you'll have fun. I can promise it's going to be. Everybody that's come on, the one thing they tell me when they're done is, man, that was really rewarding, because you're talking about things that you haven't even thought about in so long, that it really does break a lot off of your chest, and it helps break up the stress and the anxiety of it. So I think you'll get a lot from it, and the potential thousands of people that are going to see it also will get a lot from it. So absolutely, you've got my numbers on the top of that screen. How much time we got in here? 45 minutes. All right, we'll hang out for a little bit longer. We still got 14, 15 people in the room. What else is going on? It's getting cold. It's getting a little chilly out here in Spokane, Washington. And we're in the house hunt right now, looking to buy a house, and we don't know if we want to stay in Washington. We don't know if we want to go to New York. Pretty sure right now I don't really want to go back to Florida just yet, but my children are in New York, so we're possibly looking at like Pennsylvania or Connecticut. But yeah, we're moving on out of, we've been here now for 2 years in this apartment. This month on the 23rd will be my 2-year anniversary from being released from federal prison. So we've accomplished a lot in 24 months, guys. We've accomplished a hell of a lot in 24 months. And it just goes to show you that hard work, dedication, and staying focused can really have some reaping rewards. We see all these people that are crying poverty, and they're crying how poor they are, and they need all this subsistence. But you look around, and I'm not saying everybody, there are truly some impoverished poor people out there, but you see a lot of the time what happens is yes, they're struggling, they're not making a lot of money, but yet they've got a brand new PlayStation 4, they've got brand new sneakers, and we're talking name brand sneakers, brand new toys, brand new electronics, top of the line designer clothes, but they're struggling to make their rent payment. It's like, look, there's options out there, guys, for people that are struggling. Okay, there is options, obviously. But when you get out of prison and you make this an excuse, if you can afford a PlayStation, which is what, $200, $300, $400, I don't know, with games and all that stuff, you can probably easily spend $500 or $600. There are small penny investments that you can get involved in, from cryptocurrencies to all kinds of different little investments where you can invest less than $100 into something that's got potential to give you something in the future back. So if you're not taking those type of chances, and if you're like, oh, I don't know anything about investing, that's for rich people. No, you're too lazy to take the time to learn a little bit about it, and you're using that as an excuse to not hold yourself accountable, and you're using that as an excuse to continue to make bad choices in life. If you've got the best kicks, shoes, whatever you want to call them, if you're wearing the top of the line shoe right now, and you're not sure how you're going to make your rent payment, or your cell phone might be getting turned off, or you're late on your electric bill, but yet your kids got all of the brand new toys and the best designer clothes, your priorities are fucked up. Simple as that. I'm tired of seeing people complain and begging and doing all these things, but yet they've got nice things for themselves, but they're not doing anything to better their odds in life as what the long term is. They're focused on here and now and their wants. They want something now. They're not willing to work for it to get it later on once they get their needs met first. So just focus a little bit harder. Take it serious, because president, he is who he is, guys. Love, hate him, whatever. He's your president. He's probably not going to get impeached. And, you know, the healthcare system's been taken advantage of. A lot of people are out there fraudulently using this healthcare system, lying about their income in order to get approved for free healthcare. And that's what's ruining it, is the people that actually need it, that do need the subsidized healthcare, are going to get screwed ultimately by the people that don't need it, that are just lying about their income because it's not verified. And it's nasty scam going around that everybody's going to pay for in the end. What's that, irrelevant? Dan, you deserve it. You paid extra attention to him. You don't value your viewers. Not sure what we're talking about, source irrelevant. Maybe you're just being comical. I don't know, because I value my viewers. I think all my viewers know that I value them. Sometimes I get a little sidetracked and I start getting into my rants and I can't read everything you guys are saying, but source irrelevant, I love you. Okay? So just in case, a little tension there. Robert. Mike B, what's going on, my man? I'm glad you tuned in. You definitely got to go back and check out this video from the beginning. Talked about the con that almost got me for $8,000, scumbag. But yeah, the video goes over the whole thing, and it talks about how you can reach out to this guy, send him a letter, all the good stuff. So this weekend we are going to go get our pumpkins. You know, it's one cool thing about Washington versus Florida is we got like real pumpkin patches where you can go up into the mountains and you go into these little cool cabins and you can go pick your pumpkins and other cool little things that they have that they grow that you can pick yourself. So I'm looking forward to, you know, I was never a big holiday guy prior to going into prison. Like, I just took them for granted. And while I was in prison, when the holidays would come around, it sounded like so much fun. Like when you're in prison for Halloween, to be able to go out and, you know, carve your pumpkin, whether you're doing it with your kids or your wife or your husband, just going out and doing things with your friends and family that is out of the everyday norm, because it does break up the monotony a little bit and gives you some sense of enjoyment to be able to enjoy life. And that's what we're all realizing right now as you guys are getting ready to go to prison is you're realizing how much you enjoy simple things like sitting on the couch and being able to control the TV. You know, those are things that you're going to miss in prison. When it's loud and you're kind of annoyed and there's people everywhere, you're going to sit and you're going to make, man, it would be so nice to just sit on the couch in quiet right now. Those are the simple pleasures that we took for granted and took a back seat to a lot of us, our greed, our manipulation, our poor choices. And now we want to say we're sorry and please don't send me to prison. That's why it's important you understand what needs to go into these letters, because if your letters are just, I'm sorry, please don't send me to prison, I deserve a second chance, chances are the judge is just going to see that as everybody else's letter, and it's going to have no bearing at all on your sentencing. Possibly could even hurt you, because now it gives the judge the ability to say you should have thought about that before you committed your crime. Don't write anything in the letter that you think the judge can say you should have thought about that before you committed your crime. Just remember that one statement. You should have thought about that before you committed your crime. Any statement in your letter, if it can be answered with that phrase, get it out of your letter, because the judge is prepared to throw it at you in the face without you see it coming. He's not going to sympathize with you because you have kids, you have a sick parent, you have a dying dog. He's not going to sympathize with that. Not if you go at it at that approach. Mike B turns himself in on the 25th. How much time did you get again, Mike? So your vacation starts on the 25th. Your camping trip. You're going to the camp, right? So you're going on like a camping trip. You're gonna bring a backpack, roast some marshmallows. It's not that kind of camping trip, is it? Nope. But actually, they do have fires in prison. Not like riot fires where you set books on fire and shit. But they have like for the Indians and stuff, guys that are into, if they're a tribe of an Indian or I think it's Odinism. There's a million different religions in prison that I learned about while I was in there. But they've got like the little tiki huts, the little teepees. They get their fire and their rocks and their wood, and they got a little area where they can go light a fire, get in their teepee, and they smoke like a hookah. It's tobacco-less tobacco, but they sit in there and they're just chilling out, and they've got, it's almost like anybody can go join it. You can say, oh, I'm gonna take this religion. They can't deny you a religion. So if you're a white guy and you want to go join, the Indians, you can. You just have to keep up with the routine. But these guys are out there in the morning, especially on a cold day. They're sitting around a fire. It's like, that looks like so much fun. I never partaked in any of that, but I used to see it all the time. And they got rocks, and they put the rocks inside the teepee and make like a sauna. So on cold days, these guys are in there sweating. They're working out, going in there and sweating. It's pretty interesting to see this kind of stuff take place in prison. You don't even know that type of stuff exists in prison. So pretty neat. So not sure what source irrelevance talking about, but needless to say, I value everything that comes through this YouTube channel. I even value the thumbs down guy. How many thumbs downs do we have now? Do we have more than one yet? I can't see it from this screen. How many thumbs downs do we have, guys? Let me know. We still got the one. We had one thumbs down before the video even started, so somebody just doesn't like my videos without even seeing the content, and that's okay, because thumbs down to me is like a thumbs up. If you got haters out there, you made it, right? Once you get people shooting at you, you know you're getting somewhere in life. How many thumbs down can I reference the female firefighters that you interviewed for Ladies' Night? So, I was talking to another lady. Her husband's getting ready to go into prison. He's already been sentenced, all that good stuff. They're clients. They hired me to help with like additional halfway house time and trying to get him through some programs while he's in prison. He wasn't sentenced to a lot of time. I think it was a year and a day, a rather short sentence. And his wife had a bunch of questions for me, like, can I send him stamps? Can I send him a picture album in prison? So just a lot of like off the wall questions. And it's like, no, you can send pictures, but you can't send a picture album. It's got to be loose pictures. You can send letters, postcards. You can even send like paperback books. But if you're going to send somebody books in prison, the best thing to do is create an Amazon account before they even go to prison. Have them load up the shopping cart with as many books as they like, and then once a month or however often, just send a couple of those books out of the cart directly to the prison. If it comes directly from the prison, the books are not going to get returned. They're not going to be suspicious of the book. It'll go right to the inmate because it's coming directly from, they considered Amazon a publisher. So it's going to come directly from Amazon to the inmate in prison. That's the best way to send books. She just had a lot of questions, like getting radios and MP3 players, and explaining to her how inmates work as far as bartering and the different little hustles they got running in there, and what the currency is in prison. It's usually stamps or mackerels or something crazy like that. But it's important to understand a lot of these things before you go to prison, because these are a lot of the questions, like how does the prison world work? What's different about the prison world versus the free world? And there's so many differences, but yet there's so many similarities to the community. It's like you've got these communities of people that mimic the outside world. It's just insane to see the type of stuff that people do in prison. So just explaining this to her And she really, you know, I don't always get the sense that people are relieved at the end of a conversation. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell, but she was clearly relieved by the end of our conversation. She said, this almost sounds like I told her what me and Shelly used to do on how we'd write letters every week, and we'd tally them up until Sunday, then mail them all out. We had, you can see it behind me. Here, actually, I'll show it to you guys. So this was something Shelly started when she got out of prison. So this little paper doll, we call her Jenny from Forrest Gump. So not Jenny, but Jenny, as you can see her name on the bottom. So we mailed this back and forth. Where's focus? Come back in, focus. All right. So we mailed Jenny back and forth to each other as many times as we could. And every time we sent it, we would sign the back of it or the front of it. So as you can see, this is how many times Jenny transferred back and forth to and from prison. And I've got some stories about Jenny. There's Einstein yawning. He moves. He's not. So Jenny, I should count how many times. Next video, I'll tell you how many times. So one of the times, I had a cellie in there by the name of this guy named Dan. He's actually getting out in December. Really good guy. Can't wait for him to get out. Me and Dan constantly played pranks on each other. So I had Jenny sent to me, and you know, I sign it, put my little thing on it, little whatever I wrote on there, and then and I put it away until I was going to mail it. Well, I go to find Jenny and she's gone. And everybody's making me think that when we threw away some stuff, she got thrown away. I really lost my shit. Like, I was really upset because even though it's something simple like this, it had a lot of meaning. It meant a lot to be able to send it back and forth with the person I love on the outside. So come to find out, I get this little ransom note. If you ever want to see Jenny again, you must meet me at this location. So it's like a riddle. I get to a location and there's another note saying, in order to whatever, you have to find what's under a table that bounces back and forth. I mean, just riddle after riddle. It took me about a day and a half to locate where Jenny was. And it's because I'm always playing pranks on Dan. This was his prank back to me, and he got me really fucking good. Jenny was ransomed out. There was books I had to go to. I had to go into the law library and look at a certain book and a certain page. There was another message in there waiting for me. So it was like something out of a movie. But that's Jenny, and she traveled to and from Coleman, Florida, back to Washington several times. So she's been on the journey, guys. Speaking of Dan, the guy that actually pranked me, this is him in the hat. That other handsome young stud. That's so another quick story. So that's Dan. He gets out in December. As you guys can see, that watch on my wrist, right? That is not your typical. Come on, focus. Trying to focus in on it here. Well, it's about as good as it's going to get, I guess. That's what you get for a webcam. That is not your typical prison watch. That was a watch that came from another prison that they sold at a different type of a prison, and my buddy Lee Hurd had this watch. People offered him several $100s for this piece of shit knockoff watch because it was different. You could probably buy that same exact watch in Walmart for, I don't know, 10 bucks, 15 bucks. There's nothing special about it. It was just a cool looking watch in prison because it was so different. And that's the main concern in prison. So I just wanted to wear it for a picture. So yeah. Those shoes, I never wore ever because they were too small. But my regular shoes were so damn dirty that I looked like a bum in pictures. So I would just have these shoes that were too small for me, and I'd use them for my photos just to, because I took photos every week. I was pretty photogenic. You know, I like to be in front of cameras, as you guys can tell. But yeah, that's Danny Boy. He was supposed to be in prison for another 10 or 15 years, and a law passed that got rid of minimum mandatories on the ACA gun law if the gun wasn't used in the crime. So he ended up qualifying for that. And then because of his guidelines, it put him at 60 months versus 15 years. And he'll be finished in December. No halfway house or anything. He comes home. So he's definitely nervous. It's going to be nice to see Danny boy. Good people. You meet a lot of good people in prison. Am I disturbing the dogs? Who likes biscuit? Who likes biscuits? You want a biscuit? You like biscuits? So do you. Well, there's Fatso. Fatso Oliver. I love those guys. Just taking about your ladies' night interview. Oh, got you, Tamara. Yeah, that, you're talking about Candy. Right, Candy, right? She's not a firefighter. She was like a volunteer firefighter in prison. But yeah, that was an interesting story. That's what inmates do. A lot of inmates go fight fires depending on where they're housed at and if they're in a camp. So I've got crazy stories, and I'm telling you, I got a buddy. His name's Larry Dorsey, and I don't know if it's next Saturday or the Saturday after that. We're gonna have Larry live, and I'm gonna do it on a Saturday, and it's gonna be prison stories with Larry Dorsey, because nobody can tell a story better than Larry. Can't talk today. Also, Monday, guys, don't forget, Monday, we're going to have the substance abuse specialist joining us live Monday night, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Irving Shatner is going to be live joining us, talking about how he helps clients get qualified for the residential drug addiction program, talking about benefits of even hiring him prior to doing your pre-sentence report on how this can increase your odds. And we have seen it in the past where typically if you have the information listed in your pre-sentence report, they will approve you for RDAP when you get into prison. But there are RDAP coordinators in prison that if you don't have any verifiable substance abuse other than what's just in your pre-sentence report, they can still limit and possibly deny you. So with the help of Irving Shatner, we can make sure that that is not going to be the case for those of you that do take advantage. And also, if your information is not up to date in your pre-sentence report, maybe you weren't completely forthcoming about your substance abuse addictions, whether it be drugs, alcohol, prescription pills, even pills that you were supposed to be taking that maybe became a little bit of an addiction. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have an abusive problem with pill or with drugs. I don't have any substance abuse issues." Don't be so sure. You need to really analyze what that means, because what you might see as a substance abuse, somebody else might not, vice versa. So this information can help you not only get additional time off, but a lot of useful tools that can help you return home much more successful. Sarah Romero. Well, you know, it's funny. Not last Wednesday, and we weren't live last Wednesday, guys. I apologize. I meant to talk about that earlier in the video. I had an emergency I had to take care of, and I knew about it ahead of time. I was hoping I could get it done and still be able to do the video, but I could not. But it's not always easy to find a lady that's willing to come on here and talk about different issues, whether it be, you know, as you guys know, we've had some inmates, we've had a lady that works at the Federal Halfway House. So if you're interested, you've got my information on that screen, Sarah, and also my mind just went blank. Sarah and the other young lady that wants to come on that's getting sentenced next week. What I suggest is shoot me an email or a text and let me know a little bit about your situation. And if it's good content, if it's information that's going to help others, then Wednesday's Lady Night, that's what that is for. It is to help share information with women. A lot of women connect better when they hear stories from other women. And I can't deny that. It may be the same exact thing that a man went through, but the fact that it's a woman talking about it, it's more relatable. Just like I'm probably going to relate more to a guy that went to prison than a woman. The experiences are different. Now, the leading up to going to prison, a lot of the anxiety and the fears, a lot of those are almost identical. But actually spending time in prison, it's two different worlds, men and women. And I can't give you the insight of a woman because even though I wear makeup for my YouTube show, I am still a man. I identify as a male. It's fucked up. You actually got to say that now. What do you identify as? What? Microwave? You're going to hear that a lot. Who's got next on the microwave? Who's last on the phone? Who's last on the computer? There'll be a bunch of people standing around. It's not like a line waiting to get on the computer to email. There's just a bunch of people standing around, and you don't know who's next. So you just go, who's last? You? I'm after you. I'm after Dan. So when you see Dan on the computer, you know you're getting ready to come up next. Same thing with the phone. Same thing with the microwave. Pretty much anything that there's limited of, there's always a wait for it. And on big nights, like if you plan on cooking, and it's like a Thursday night or a Friday night, you better get into it, because you can't reserve the microwave. Like, hey, I'm going to go eat dinner, but I'm first on the microwave. When these guys make fried rice, it could take 7 to 10 minutes to make your rice. If you got 10, 15 people waiting in front of you, you're going to be waiting a minute to make your rice. So the best thing you can do is either skip dinner that night or be the first one to the chow hall and try to get back to the unit first and go get all your stuff ready, or get your stuff ready before you go to dinner and get everything ready that you're going to make. Because some guys like to go eat dinner in the chow hall and eat their prison dinner that they make in the unit or in the house. Come over to my house. We're making pizzas tonight. Come over to my house. We're making burritos. I heard you having burritos next week. What house are you in again? So yeah, or my condo. Once I got moved to the back, I called it the high-rise condo, because we were in the back in a two-man, and we kind of controlled what went on in the back of the RDAP unit. We knew who was back there. We had our neighborhood. We had everybody who we wanted to live in our neighborhood. We all kind of got into this little area and migrated to a group of us that wanted to live together. So we were all neighbors and cellies, and just the end of my prison term was a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of fun. Once RDAP pretty much under my belt, once I knew how much halfway house time I was getting, now I was just like on my last 90 days, just kind of setting back, letting it ride out. I had a lot of fun, and so can you guys. You can really turn this experience into a positive one. You got to spend time with the right people in prison. I'm going to read some messages here in a second, but you got to pick the right people to spend time with, guys. And we're going to have Tamara. Tomorrow is going to be on Ladies' Night. Her son Ian is in federal prison, and it's going to be an interesting story with her, because she'll get to tell you how he went from the camp to the low, and the many struggles that her son has bumped heads with while in prison. And it's unfortunate, because it really did potentially stop him from a lot of the programs and additional halfway house time that may have been. Not to say it's a done deal and he's not going to get any of it now, but it's definitely going to increase his odds of not getting it. Michael, did I miss a question from you? Oh, what is camp like? Can you elaborate a little for me? Sorry, Mike. So I was never at a camp, but I can do my best to explain it from the descriptions that I've received. So typically there's no fence. Most camps there's a lot less inmates. Like, for example, the low I was at had 3,000 inmates. Most camps have a few hundred to several hundred at the most. Some camps only have like 100 and something inmates. You can have out custody jobs at a camp, Mike, where you can actually be like a town driver, where if you have a valid driver's license, your job can be driving other inmates around, like to doctor appointments or to the airport, different things like that. There's usually less COs. What else is a big deal with the camp? There's not going to be any sex offenders at a camp. Sex offenders have what's called in custody, or their custody levels are a higher security, so they have to be behind a fence, because they cannot be out they have a community control custody, so they got to be behind the fence, where in a camp, you're outside of the fence, so they could be considered a danger to society. In order to go to a camp, you have to have less than 10 years remaining on your sentence. So if you got sentenced to, say, 10 years, after your good time, you've got less than 10 years, so you could typically go to a camp. What else? I'm sure there's some other big deals, some big differences there. But as far as the type of people that are at camps, it's pretty similar to the same type of people that you're going to see in a low, for the most part. Other than in a low, you'll see a lot of sex offenders, because a lot of lows are considered like protective custodies. It's not a camp, but it's not a medium or a pen, so the violence is usually cut down a lot lower than what you would see at a medium or pen, even though Tamara would beg to differ on that, because her experience where her son is, he's at Yazoo, Mississippi low, and that low is very much ran like a medium or a pen. A lot of violence, a lot of lockdowns, just not a thriving place to be if you're trying to do your time easy and just enjoy life and get in and out of prison. How about programs? I'm going to Inglewood Camp. We can check into the programs for you, Mike, but the thing, there's usually less programs in a camp because there's less inmates, so there's less of a demand for what type of classes you can take. So I don't know exactly what's at Inglewood camp. I believe I do have a couple clients that are at Inglewood, so we can look into that and get some feedback from them. But classes are pretty limited in general. Like, a lot of people want to go take all of these college courses. There's not a lot of college courses usually to take. There's some credited programs you can get. Some of the classes you have to pay for. I know there's paralegal classes at some prisons. There's a lot of inmate ran type classes for sure, where you can definitely get education, but it doesn't necessarily come with any type of credential that's going to do anything for you in the real world. There are some real world classes as far as like trade classes, like if you want an electrician, possibly like some kind of a mechanic, different things like that. But depending on what you want to do, you're not really going to get a lot of degrees in prison. So in a prison with 157 inmates, you can imagine there's not going to be a lot of classes because not every inmate is interested in taking classes. So let's say half the prison population wants to take classes. They're not going to take classes every day. So to put funding in there for accredited classes, it's probably not enough to benefit the amount of inmates that are going to take it. There might only end up being 2 or 3 classes, or 2 or 3 inmates in a class. Workout rooms. There will be rooms to work out in. Again, smaller prisons aren't going to have as much to offer. Like where I was at, and it's my only real comparison, our compound was so large because of 3,000 inmates. We had a half-mile track. We had an actual like fitness / aerobics room where there was equipment in there. We had medicine balls. We had the big, I forgot what they're called, the big air balls that you get on to do like sit-ups or use them for different exercises. We had the platform steps that you get up and step on and do step class. We had kettlebells. We had pull-up bars inside that room. Then we had a separate room that had some equipment like the ellipticals. We had treadmills. We had row machines. We had another room that was set up with nothing but spin bikes. There must have been 15 or 20 spin bikes in this room, with one spin bike in the lead facing everybody for the spin instructor. And then we had outside workout classes with pull-up bars and dip bars and push-up classes and circuit classes. So there was a lot. But like where Shelley was, Coleman, at the camp, there was like one small little room there for aerobics. And then you had to go kind of work out wherever you could on the yard somewhere. So you'll find there's going to be groups that get together and make it work with what there is. With 150 guys, you should be able to find as much time as you want to work out. Most camps, you work more also. Another big benefit, or another big difference in a camp versus a low, where 150 guys versus 3,000 guys. With 3,000 guys on a compound, there's more guys than jobs. So a lot of the jobs are bullshit jobs that they create. Like my job was sweep the sidewalk Saturday and Sunday morning from like 6 to 6:30. Wasn't even a real job. I got paid like $15 a month. But at a camp, you're probably going to have a 30 to a 40-hour a week job, like a real job. It might be landscaping, depending on how long your sentence is. A lot of the good jobs are reserved for guys with longer sentences or have been there a while. So initially, unless you've got some kind of weird talent, accounting or something like that, you're probably going to just have whatever kind of BS job initially until you've worked your way up the food chain. At the camps, it's either going to be a cubicle setting or a dorm. Cubicles are the concrete cubes, like that's where I was at the low. We had cubes, but a lot of camps also have just open bay dorms where it's just bunk beds with little chairs next to them and just rows of bunk beds. The cubes are better from what I saw. You have a little bit more privacy in room. I would prefer, honestly, I'd prefer a cell over a dorm. You want some privacy. At least with a cube, you've got walls. They're either 2 or 3 man cubes, and a lot of the times you're in the cube by yourself, just relaxing, laying down, reading a book or newspaper. And in an open bay, there's just always people around. You know, there's not a lot of private room. Do they assign the job? They do assign jobs. You can go find out what jobs are available. You can request jobs. A lot of the jobs are run by other inmates on who gets them, even though it's ultimately up to whoever the boss man of that job is, which is usually a CO, but the COs refer to the inmate who has been there the longest and say, hey, who should we hire? They'll take the word of an inmate a lot of the times on who's going to get that job. And if there's 2 and 3 man cells where you're going to end up in a 3 man to start, because a 2 man is going to be considered prime real estate. It's going to be a higher value of land, higher commodity, more of a demand for the 2 man versus the 3 man. So if you're new, you're going to start off in a 3 man, and you're going to start off on a top bunk, unless you have a medical pass, like a bottom bunk pass, showing that you have something wrong and you need to have a bottom bunk. Other than that, you'll start off on a top bunk, which I hated the top bunk. I didn't like climbing up, because I go to the bathroom like 5 million times a night, because I drink water all day, all night long. Every time I get up, I go to the bathroom and drink more water. It was just my routine. I don't do it as much now, but trying to stay hydrated in prison so you don't cramp up during these crazy workouts you're doing, you're trying to always be hydrated. So it was a pain in the ass climbing up and down the bunk in the middle of the night, especially if you like had a severe leg day and your legs are just crushed and you can barely walk, and you're going up and down this bunk at 4 a.m. It hurts. So I was very happy when I got my bottom bunk. It was definitely like equivalent to like getting a brand new bed or getting something brand new, and you're like, this is nice. Even though it feels exactly the same, it wears off real fast, and you just kind of get used to it, but bottom bunks are good. Is a camp similar to a hostel for sleeping? If you're in a dorm setting, it's very similar to a hostel, I would imagine. Just bunk beds everywhere. It's like cup number 4 today of coffee. Is that much coffee bad for me, do you think? You think like I'm going to get like a caffeine cancer? I have the laziest dogs in the freaking world, which is great because they don't require it. It's like you feed them and water them. They're like plants. What's your sentence, Mike? A year? A year and a day? A year and a day, you'll do 8 to 9 months, depending how much halfway house time they give you. And then you could always get additional halfway house time too if you really play your cards right. It's one of our services. Help you get additional halfway house time. Call now. For the low fee of $14.95, you too can have the possibility of getting a reduced sentence by qualifying for the Second Chance Act. Call now. But wait, there's more. Coffeeed out. So like Shelly, she was sentenced to 13 months. I think she served 8 months on her 13 months. Then she went to the halfway house, and then a couple of weeks of home confinement. Just remember, you can only do 10% of your sentence on home confinement. So if you're sentenced to like a year, you can do a month and change on home confinement. So if you get 3 or 4 months halfway house, you're going to spend the majority of that in the halfway house. You're going to hear all kinds of crazy rumors from other inmates in prison telling you that, oh no, as soon as you get to the halfway house, if you got a job, they're going to send you right to home confinement. It's what they do with everybody. Bullshit. Doesn't work like that. You're going to hear that rumor and you're going to believe it because it sounds good. But no, you're going to go from this really nice prison camp to this horrible, gloomy dungeon of a halfway house. That's a really good description. Dark, gloomy dungeon. That's the best description I've probably come up with for the halfway house. Just picture like the DMV with beds in it. The tax collector's office with beds. That's kind of what the halfway house looks like. Do I have to do my halfway house time in Colorado or my home state? Also, I asked my lawyer about the Second Chance Act to lower felony or something, but no dice. The Second Chance Act has nothing to do with lowering your sentence. The Second Chance Act has to do with when they submit you for halfway house. And you can get Second Chance Act without getting the full year off. Like we got somebody that through the Second Chance Act, he's getting 7 or 10 months of halfway house instead of the 3 or 4 months. So Second Chance Act, just anything above what they give you can be put through the Second Chance Act. As far as your question about where you're going to do your halfway house time, it's based on your release address. So if you were, like, for example, my case was out of Georgia. I lived in West Palm Beach, Florida. So if I would have kept my residence address in Palm Beach, Florida, I would have been sent to the halfway house in Florida. But about a month and a half before I was released, I changed my release address to Washington State. So they changed my halfway house designation to Washington versus Florida. So it's all based on your release. And if you're going to try to go to a different state other than where your crime was committed, you just have to be approved in that state by U.S. probation. So U.S. probation has to accept you in that state, which 99% of the time they will. It's not that big of a deal. You just put in the request and it gets done. Christina Smith. Can you work a bar restaurant job in a halfway house? Yes, you can. I knew many of guys. Now, some halfway houses have weird rules, but yes, you can work. I knew a lot of guys that were servers, guys working at Chili's. So yes, you can. Or does it have to be check or now? You do have to. You can work a bar or a restaurant, but you do have to get paid hourly. There has to be a paycheck with hours, and it has to be minimum wage. So if you're in a weird state, like, okay, for example, Washington State, if you're a waiter or a waitress, you still have to get paid. They still have to pay you minimum wage here. Well, minimum wage in Washington is $11. So if you're waiting tables at Denny's, you're making $11 an hour plus your tips. So waiters and waitresses can make decent, okay money here. Where in Florida, whatever, I forgot what minimum wage is, like $9 or $10 an hour or whatever. But a waiter or a waitress doesn't fall under minimum wage categories. They only get paid like $2 or $3 an hour plus tips. So if it's a situation like that, they may not let you have that job because your job is going to require minimum wage. Because remember, they take 25% of your gross income. Man, it feels like something's crawled on my back. So just keep that in mind, everybody. Okay, so prison staff telling inmates that they never give more halfway house. Dan, what is up with your probation? Oh, my probation denied me, guys. Those of you that are waiting, damn, I meant to read. I didn't even get the letter. I found it when I went into Pacer. I read the motion. I haven't received the actual letter yet, but it's in Pacer. They denied me for terminating my halfway house early. I asked for it way early, though. I mean, I literally just hit a year of halfway house. I'm sorry, probation. I just hit a year of probation. The end of last month was my 1 year. I was sentenced to 3 years. Typically, they don't release you until you've done at least a year and a half. Then you can request to be released. So, you know, I took a shot. What the heck? Figured maybe the judge would check out my YouTube channel and be like, this guy's doing above and beyond. But you know what? If I wouldn't have asked, I wouldn't have known. And it's the same thing. You know, we can do all the work in the world for you guys. At the end of the day, the judge can still sentence you to what he's going to sentence you to. You can still get denied for RDAP, and they can still deny you for additional halfway house time. Basically, what we're doing is presenting you with something to enhance the odds and enhance the possibility. It's not a guarantee. And anybody that's telling you they can guarantee, I see people that tell you you can hire them and they're going to help you apply for the Second Chance Act. There is no applying for the Second Chance Act. It's not like an application you got to fill out somewhere online. It doesn't exist. That's just something to give, because whoever's offering it doesn't feel like there's enough value in just saying what it really is, so they don't know how to charge for it by saying, oh, you can do this on your own. You can do it on your own. You can. Your case manager, we've had people that haven't done anything, and the case manager put them in for the Second Chance Act. But to increase your chances to get put in for the Second Chance Act, that's what we do a lot of, helping you prepare to increase the opportunity for the case manager to want to offer it to you. Tamara's talking about that right now, where she said prison staff telling inmates they never give more halfway house. Some case managers will not. My case manager did not want to give me anything more than 6 months. We hired the same lady that does all of our head writing right now, that does a lot of the overseeing of the writing. We hired her when they put me in for 6 months to help me get additional halfway house time, and she wrote a narrative, sent it into the CMC, which is the case manager coordinator, also sent it into the assistant warden and my case manager to get me approved for additional halfway house through the Second Chance Act, and I got the additional time. I ended up with 11 months instead of 6 months. So just because the case manager says no does not mean that you can't get it. Michael B. I know a couple of people in a halfway house. Pretty cool that they let you have a cell phone, smartphone. Depends on the halfway house you're at. Not all halfway houses do that. My halfway house that I was in, and I might have that phone here somewhere, because I like to show it to you guys from time to time. But my halfway house, when I first got there, they did not allow you to have a smartphone. And I thought maybe it was in here, but maybe not. I did find my little MP3 player that we used in prison. I should have had that out here to show you guys so you can see what they look like. Such pieces of garbage. Man, where's all my stuff? Shelly redid my office, if you guys can tell. It's been redone again. She got bored, so she reorganized it, moved me around. So, yeah, but each halfway house is different. Like my halfway house, you couldn't have a smartphone. It had to be a flip phone with no internet capability on it at all. And then they passed it a few months after that where smartphones became allowed. More and more halfway houses are adopting that because it makes sense. But there's still plenty of halfway houses. Like West Palm Beach halfway house, you're still not allowed to have a smartphone in the halfway house. Guys get them, they sneak them in, they find them. It's not a big consequence. If they find your cell phone, they're going to take it from you. So if you are going to be in the halfway house and you're one of those people that's going to break the rule and get a smartphone and try to sneak it in and out of the unit, get a cheapo. Don't buy anything that's nice because they will find it eventually and they'll take it from you. Dan, I have 2 years probation. Can I ask for early release at a year then? Yeah, technically, yes, you can. You know, and there is no early release. So if you have a year probation, you can't get released after 6 months. There is a minimum. If they give you probation, you got to serve at least 1 year before. That's why I asked after my year of probation, I asked for consideration to be removed, because after a year, technically, you can't ask. My judge is out of the Southern District of Georgia, and from what I hear, that area is not big on cutting your probation at all. So I may be stuck like Chuck with the full 3 years. But if I am, I'm okay with it because I just want to get off of it just to know that I'm off of it. I don't like it being out there. I don't like that I have to check in with my probation officer once a month. It's not a big deal. He makes it very easy for me because I've never given him a reason to think otherwise. I have to send an email to him once a month with has anything changed and what my income is from this business. I would think halfway. The reason why, I don't know the exact reason, Robert, but remember, there's a lot of guys in halfway houses that are in there for sex offense crimes like child pornography. And a lot of their stipulations are they're not allowed to use computers or internet access after they get out of prison. And I think a lot of the fears of the halfway houses are if guys in there have them and they're letting other people use them, it just opens up the possibility for it. So instead of just thinking about it, they're like, nope, no smartphones. They just cut it off so they don't have to monitor, because it creates extra because they can go through your cell phone at any minute. They can call you up to the front, take your cell phone from you, go through your text messages. So if you got a password on it, you have to tell them the password or you have to remove the password. So it is a hassle having a smartphone, because even if you don't have stuff on there that's going to get you in trouble, it might be personal, it might be sexy pictures back and forth. You don't want people looking at that stuff. So you're constantly going through your phone to see what's on there before somebody views it. Can you hire someone to help you get early probation or to get off probation early? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could hire somebody to file a motion for you tomorrow, but it hasn't really been something that, you know, if I had to pay for it, it's not worth it because probation's not affecting my life. If I need to travel, I can travel. I just got to ask for permission. I can go pretty much within the United States anywhere I want with a couple of days notice. And the chances of me needing, probably with a couple of hours notice if it was an emergency. You might be able to. You know, I'm sure there's an attorney out there for everybody, and these guys will take your money, so they will gladly. Wow, we are an hour and 33 minutes into this video, and we still have 18 people watching. How many thumbs up do we got, guys? Give me a thumbs up counter. How many thumbs up do we have? Does anybody feel like they're in the mood to share a little of their wealth? The end of this month, we'll be sending out money to help guys in federal prison. So if you want to contribute to that, I just posted the link in the stream or in the chat box there. Just click on that. Donations are welcome. I know last week somebody said there was an issue with it. So actually, let me click on it right now. With my luck, I probably posted it wrong again. Who knows? Nope, it's working. So feel free, guys. Feel free to donate as little or as much as you want. 12 thumbs up. All right. I wish they had high fives. You get a thumbs up if you kind of like it, but then you get a high five if you really enjoyed it. wonder how many high fives we would get. Anyway, donations are they're not expected. They are appreciated. And just again, to reiterate, they do not go to us. It goes into an account that we use to distribute to guys that are in prison. Every month, we're trying to give back a little bit. So that's why you got me in here begging and groveling for any type of donation to help guys, especially in the winter times. Winter times, it gets a little bit rougher in there. I remember how cold it was. It was freezing in there. There was nights where I would sleep with my sweater, my sweatpants, and then it was like a shirt that I would turn into it was the little winter caps that they had. I bought an extra one at commissary because they were only like $3 or $4, and I cut a hole in the top of it and I'd pull it down to cover up my neck at night because I would just get freezing. So cold at night sometimes that it was like unbearable. It's like, how do they make it this cold? And this is in the heat of the summertime and it's that cold. So, and that's in Florida. So that AC was always cranking. Empty Pockets. Hey, Emily, right? Emily's Empty Pockets. How are you doing, Empty Pockets? Or Emily? Robert's thumb up counter is stuck. That damn thumb up counter. But guys, you know, I love making these videos, and I'm probably going to, you know, this video is long, and I want people to really see this con artist for who he is. So I'll probably make a pre-recorded, edited video, a tribute to this scumbag who tried to scam me for $8,000, Charles Castro Barbero. It was great news to hear that he went to the SHU today for what he tried to do. RDAP Dan's going to fuck your day up because you picked the wrong prison consultant to mess with. I'm going to follow you through your entire prison experience and be a thorn in your ass. Promise you that. People don't learn. Gonna learn today. You're going to learn today, Charles. Well, I'm going to roll out of here. I'm going to go get some lunch. Or maybe, what time is it? Maybe start preparing dinner so when Shelly gets home, got a nice little meal for her. Tomorrow's her full day off. Well, not full day. She's got to do a couple letters. But other than that, tomorrow's going to be relaxed. We're going to go to the pumpkin patch. We're going to go pick up some pumpkins, get a couple little Halloween decorations, get a little bit of candy for the kiddos that want to come knock on our door. I wish my house would get egged. Kids are so afraid to, like, do mischief now because they're going to go to jail. If I got egged, I'd be like, man, I love that kid. Whoever egged my house, you get a high five because it shows that's what Halloween's about. Trick or treat. If your lights are off and you're not handing out candy, you should get egged. If you're going to take off, you're not going to be home, and you're going to a Halloween party, you're going to get egged or toilet papered. That's what we used to do as kids, and there was no consequences. You weren't going to jail. If the other kid, if you egged another kid's house, the kid might find out about it and he might come beat you up or something. You might have to deal with a little Royal Rumble. Remember that? Those little sandblocks, Royal Rumbles? How many of you guys remember when kids used to actually get in little fights, throw a couple punches, fight was over, they were friends again? Now it's like you're worried about getting shot, you're worried about getting arrested. It's like, oh man, I do not wish not to be a kid these days. All right, everybody. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm rolling out of here. What's today? So I'll see you guys Monday. We'll be live with Irving Shatner. It's going to be probably a 30 to a 45-minute video. I don't want to take up too much of Irving's time because it's going to be late for him on the East Coast. But he's going to give us some great insight to those of you that are looking to possibly get into RDAP. He is a psychotherapist. He's been helping clients get into RDAP for a very long time. He's got a great program. He's helped some of my clients that were denied for RDAP through the BOP get it overturned and put into the program. So we're going to explain what exactly he can do to help all of you. Have a great weekend, guys. Love every single one of you. Keep doing what you're doing. People helping people one day at a time. Community as method. Peace.